Morning, sorry.
Great, thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. I'm calling the Southborough Board of Health meeting to order on Tuesday, April 8th at 11:02 a.m. All board members are present. And our first order of business is a public hearing for 2 East Main Street project. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing by reading the posting into the record. So the Southborough Board of Health will hold a virtual public meeting on Tuesday, April 8th, 2025, starting at 11 a.m. This meeting may be watched or residents may participate in the meeting remotely with the meeting link at https://ma-southborough.civic+.com/674/virtual-meetings. It will be recorded and available on YouTube. The meeting will include a vote on the East Main Street project to East Main Street. This notice will also be posted at the Southborough Town Hall. Written comments may be mailed prior to the vote to the Health Department, 9 Corderville Road, lower level, Southborough, Mass. 01772. This legal notice is also posted through legals@wickedlocal.com. Okay, so the public hearing is open, and Barbara, I did not receive any written correspondence or comments prior to this meeting. Did the Health Department office receive any? Barbara, you're on mute if you're trying to talk.
No, nothing.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Mr. Bemis is with us this morning, and we also have Mr. Costello, who's our health inspector, available for any comments, and we can certainly ask his opinion of the system that Mr. Bemis is bringing forward. But Peter, I'll give it to you to start off.
Great, thank you very much. So just, I know, sorry for the last minute here, but Barbara had sent an email and I was trying to get her a copy of what I had mailed out to the abutters. And Barbara, I gave you one envelope that got returned. So if you open that up, you'll find exactly what I sent out.
It was for planning board, though.
Oh, then that's the one. Nope, that's not the one. Yeah, I'll get you the one that went out.
Okay.
Okay, all right, sorry. Um, so good morning, Peter Bemis, engineer and design consultant. So what we've done is I put a request for a updated soil absorption system at 2 East Main Street. The underlying soil conditions at the site haven't changed since the board had authorized an approval back in 07. And the Conservation Commission recently approved the project valid through now July of 27, but before the planning board for their approval. And this seemed like a good time to look back at the soil absorption system technology that we are also using for the site. So we want to go forward with what's called Good Flow Solutions. It was formerly called Curtech LLC, and they're basically aeration chambers. They're set up to go under parking lots. That's what they're really made for, and that's where we're proposing to put this. Their approval dates back to 2016. The Good Flow system has a different geometry. So they have a size element that would allow us to actually get a greater setback to the environmental receptors, but then lengthen it. And that's part of what I need to discuss with you, and then to consider the flow that we were looking at here. So the plan had some specific setback dimensions on it. 69 feet was previously provided. Now we can be 70.5 to an intermittent stream channel, and 83 and 80 feet when 85.5 and 81, excuse me, 83 and 80 feet were previously provided to the intermittent stream channel, and 85 and 81 are now provided. So the way we've drawn the system is to treat 880 gallons per day. We reduce the side of the leaching area 75 square feet along the environmental receptors, but then make it longer. And I'll show you the exact plan in a moment. If I can share screen, it might be easier for me to just illustrate a few things with this. Is that possible to share? If I just click share, I can share.
Barbara, does he have sharing capability.
I'll try.
You can try. You may get rejected.
Host disabled.
I don't think I can change you.
Okay.
I need Barbara to change you.
If it's allowed, fine. Otherwise, I can keep talking in general terms because honestly, the packet that we provided
You
had
should
the,
be able to.
Okay. You want to try again, Peter?
yeah, I'll click again. It's saying host participant screen sharing disabled each time I've clicked it. And I don't think I have any other control feature. Oh, now I have it. Thank you, Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And can that be seen?
Yes.
Okay, so I just think that the history side of this is important so that you understand how I'm advocating the flow component. So again, the Sealy block is what this section of East Main and Newton Street was referred to back at the early 1900s. And these were the buildings that were there. These are the historic photos. And the reason why I brought this one in closer is that this building off to the side, it's this building you're going to see in some other pictures going forward that will be where the fuel station actually was back in the 30s. This is what that corner looked like. So there was a blacksmith shop, some storage sheds, and then that larger structure that you see here. This is the 30s. That's that tall building that you saw on the side. And so it looks as though there was probably like a general store or something like that with some apartments up above and then the fuel station here. The reason why I know there's some apartments up above was that I've been approached by some folks, actually a gentleman who actually was born in this house. So we know people who are living there. This is what the gas station looked like in the 60s with the 3 bays. That building that was here that you saw where the fuels were in front of in the 30s, that was a printing press company up to 59, and they had a fire in 59, and the gas station expanded in that direction. And in the back, there was a parking lot that they used for selling vehicles. So going back to the flows again, we established these flows back when we initially looked at this project. We had about 1,800 gallons, 1,180 gallons per day if we were looking at it in the 20s with the various uses that were there. When the printing press company was there, and the gas station was about 900 gallons. When the gas station expanded, we had about 900 gallons. When we came forward in 2018, there was no such thing as mixed use and office or residential. We were trying, and I'll explain that in a moment. We were trying to use a provision in the zoning bylaw because this didn't even exist. And now here we are today, and I'm trying to justify the 880 gallons per day, which is 8 one-bedroom apartments. And then this is the soil absorption plan as it's currently approved. And these are the leaching limits that are there for the Presby system that we had got approval for, and that's 14 by 58. And then this is what we're looking at today. Again, this is the overall plan. And then if we just kind of zoom in here, this is the limits in red of that 14 by 58. And this blue is the area that would be added. And then this small strip here is the 75 square feet to be deleted. So the net increase to get to the 8 bedrooms would be 143 square feet. So I kind of describe that. Explain the flows. So again, going back to 2018, so downtown district didn't exist. We pursued permits for a mixed-use residential retail facility where we got a use variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals for 4 extended stay units on the 2nd floor and office retail on the 1st floor. Got support from various factions in the town, but rather than pursue that special permit with the variance support, we went forward with a a by right use, if you will, office building. But we needed a special permit for its size. And unfortunately, that was denied in September of 2019. Town meeting did create a downtown district, I want to say 2 years later. But we just recently tried to pursue using that definition, and the use definition for mixed use was far too restrictive. It doesn't work. As you go up higher, there's actually a reduction in square footage versus an increase in square footage. So it's very, it hinders the ability to really create a project that will be successful there. So we've amended our application with the planning board. That's before the board now. Again, we have conservation approval for the project. Now it makes sense to revisit this with the board, thus this application. We're at 725 gallons in our approval. We have 746 gallons in our design, and we awkwardly fall between 6 and 7 bedrooms. So what we've drawn here for you to consider is this extended area that would allow the 8 bedrooms. This 75 coming off, obviously, if we did 7, this would be a bit smaller, and it's like a net push, if you will. There's not a very big change between the 7 and the currently approved limits because of the reduction in this area here. But what I wanted the board to also know is that as part of the multi-use criteria, the multifamily criteria, when you do anything residential in the downtown district, you have to then consider affordable units. And the criteria is 12.5% of a project. It has to be affordable. So that's 8, basically, essentially, that translates into 8 units. So we have to do one affordable no matter what. So obviously, from our perspective, the most effective way to do that would be to do the 880 gallons, allowing us to have 8 bedrooms, and therefore one of which is affordable. And in making the affordable, we are going to try, and actually we made a commitment to the planning board to go forward with a handicapped accessible unit for the affordable, so that we can then not only address the affordability component, but if that person ends up being a handicapped individual, they would then have a unit that would be suitable for their use. Because there's nothing really gets dedicated like that typically when folks do these multifamily projects. The last piece of information was the Good Flow Solutions immeration chamber technology. That technology has received approval from DEP to go up to 5,000 gallons per day, just as a conventional gravity system, the way we're proposing it. Just for the board's edification, typically when you go over 2,000 gallons per day, you have to treat the effluent differently. In this instance, this technology has received approval to go up to this higher flow rate, which we believe will afford resiliency to this project. Clearly, they've tested the technology, and DEP feels confident that that system has the ability to treat that effluent, even at a higher flow rate. We're not going to be anywhere near that, but I just feel like it's an important component to it. And we have an impermeable barrier. That's the other thing the board needs to be aware of, is that there's always this separator, regardless of which technology we use, that will protect these resource areas that we're close to by having this barrier that separates us from them. Let's see here, I think.
Peter, before you move off that plan, can I
Oh,
just ask
sorry.
a quick question?
Sure, go right ahead. Sorry.
Can you restate the increase of square footage
Yep,
between the original pink color and then the addition of the blue less the 75?
right. So this original area was 800 and I wrote it down. I didn't. Bear with me. I just have to take off my glasses and look at my
I'm
reduced
actually
screen
more
here.
concerned about just the increase. So
I know, but I want to make sure I quote this properly.
okay.
It was 14 by 58. Yeah, 812. I just want to make sure I got it right.
Okay.
So 812 was what the original approval was. The new limits are 953. And the delta here is that we take 75 off of the original 812 and we add on 218, which gets us to those numbers. So that's really the difference right here is it's 143 square feet of added
Okay.
area right here.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And so the good flow solution technology, if you will, it's an aeration chamber or galley, depending how you want to look at it, with this added feature that it has this fin that's attached to the side of it. So this basically is the chamber that we traditionally had been familiar with, and then they've added on this fin type structure along the edge. It gives it more air and distribution capability. One thing that Dennis and I have done, so we submitted an original plan with this. We talked about it the other day, and what we're going to do is run a pipe through the leaching chambers, rather than it just enter the chamber and then drop into the filter bed. We're going to extend the pipe through the system so it'll carry throughout and distribute more equally throughout the chamber area. So the only other thing I wanted to leave you with was just, again, I know most people drive downtown, but to understand all of this, there's basically a bit of a divide here, kind of east and west on East Main Street. Stormwater that's coming down through this section of the watershed, everything pretty much to the east of the railroad, drains into a culvert that's here. That culvert, let me just switch to the next screen here, flows through the Lamy property and discharges in the back here. So I'm going to go back. I meant to point out one other thing. This drain manhole right here is where the pipe comes down, and then it leaves here and goes across the street and goes through the Lamy property. So pretty much everything that's on the west side may flow overland to the east side, but there's a bit of a drainage divide here, and there's a culvert that connects that west side to east side and flows through the parking lot. So we really don't have much impact, if you will, on our site to anything that's going west. But pretty much all of our water gets handled on the site and transfers to the south through the Lamy property, and then it goes through open channel flow down to the reservoir system. Again, this corner, there was a little bit more gravel that was out there when the town was depositing the materials there. That some of that's been taken away, but that's really what the corner looks like. And so what it's going to explain about our site is our leaching area is located right here. And we've got that barrier that's going to separate it from the receptors that are here, so that we're really allowing the soil to absorb that effluent. And we've done a percolation test. We've confirmed what the soil conditions are on the site. And we don't believe that there's going to be any sort of impact, if you will, to any abutter or even to our own site, that we believe that the site can properly handle this effluent. So I will stop the share, allow everyone to see each other. And I would ask for your support. I thank you for this opportunity to even present it. And be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Liz and Safdar, do you want to hear from Dennis before we ask questions, or do you want to ask questions first? Hear from Dennis first?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Okay. So Dennis, can you just give us your expertise on this in particular, the system that's being used, and what yours and Chris's research has resulted in, and if you have a recommendation for the board.
Okay, you guys hear me?
You got to unmute though, because
Yeah.
How about now?
right. You're good.
Okay, all right. So, on back to square one is that our review is based on the approval that the board did in 2018, which was for 725 gallons per day. And that's a number that I have to work with. The variance to the distance to the tributary was granted, and that still holds today. So that does not have to change with this board. The question comes down to, for me, is the increase in flow, which needs to have a variance by the board because of the distance to the tributary being less than 100 feet. So that is the variance request from the 725 to the 880. Now, Peter has always maintained that the flow on the property was always historically more. And that is for the board to ascertain if you believe that that's correct, then this would not be a variance for an increase in flow. It would be to agree that the flow already exists and basically that system could be designed and approved by right. So he would not be increasing the flow. He would not be changing, altering the 725. So that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is an increase in flow. And myself and Chris went through, it's a lengthy file. And being that the flow was approved by the board, like once again, that's kind of number we have to look at. The system that he's proposing is different than the original system, which was a Presby system. It does offer a smaller footprint to a degree. It offers equal treatment or better. They are an older system, Peter's correct, that was used widely, but because of their construction, they're very heavy. Modern systems like Presby or Cultex, somebody can put in the back of a pickup truck. These have to be delivered and installed usually with the truck that they're delivered in, or a large excavator. So they haven't been used widely in the past 15 or 20 years, but the system is still very good. So the system, I think, is doesn't need to be reviewed as such. Well, it will work there or not. It does. The technology is there, so that's not a problem. For me, I think it basically comes down to the flow that was existing, if that's historically correct, and I don't know that. Or if you think that this project and this system can take the increase in flow without any additional or any harm to the receptor, which is less than 100 feet away. We also reviewed the square footage based on the particular configuration of the chambers. And myself and Chris, I believe, agreed that to go to the 770 gallons, that would probably not require a variance or much of a difference for a variance, because gallons per day, it's kind of like by default. So if you put 8 chambers down, by default you're going to get that extra 100 gallons, but not the full 880. Get the 770. So our recommendation, or my recommendation, is right now, I believe that you could approve this for the 770 gallons, just to approve it. To go to the 880, then you would have to agree or make a statement that, yes, the original flow on that property was greater than 880 or 880 and greater. So if it's 1,020, whatever that would be, then this would not constitute an increase in flow, and you could approve it just as the system stands. With the caveat saying that I'm not for or against the actual increase or not, but the system is good. It is proven. It does work. Other than that, I'm happy I'm not on the board for this decision.
I mean, there's also a third option, right, where we could take into consideration the historical flow, but not use that as our basis for approval and actually grant a separate variance outside of the one that was granted in 2018.
Yes, to put it that way, yeah.
I mean, is it, I guess from a legal perspective, is it cleaner to have, if we go up to the 880, to have a variance approved versus just an approval?
No, because I think your basis for that going up to the approval needs to be based on something concrete, which would be, historically it already had that.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
I would think that's what you probably base it on, rather than we'll just give them a variance because it's bigger or larger or whatever.
Okay,
So I think that historic flow actually comes into a
Yeah.
big part of this.
okay. All right, who wants to go first? Go ahead, Safdar.
Two questions. One is, so you said that this isn't being used that widely, and is it just the labor part of it that you described that as to why this system isn't used more widely? Are there any other issues with the system that people aren't using it widely?
No, actually none.
Okay.
No, that was a cost saving, a large cost saving for septic systems. So, they're still in use today. I mean, you have them in Southborough, in different commercial and residential, and they do work. So they are out there. This isn't like a pioneering grounds.
And the second question is just, can you just give an example of flow in another system like this? Like before, as we look at 880, is there an example in town where flow is this much or not? Or these numbers, comparable numbers for what we're proposing?
So the numbers come from the code. The numbers are 110 gallons per bedroom per day. And that's what we have to base our numbers on. So this would be the same as a 7-bedroom or 8-bedroom home, so to speak. So what we figure is 8 people get up in the morning, they take showers, they do things, whatever. That's your peak flow. That's what this is designed for. So this is designed to take 600 gallons in the morning, and then the rest of the day, 300 gallons, let's just say, spread out over 24 hours. And that's one, that is another good thing of this particular system, is there is a lot of storage space in there, where if everybody got up and really did everything, then the system is able to handle that. So that is a good thing, where other systems may not. So it's a good question.
Liz, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. I have a couple. Peter, what plan is in front of planning board right now? Have you gone up to 8 bedrooms for them? Is it a 2.5 story?
Yeah, but with approval from the Board of Health, then we would amend our application with the board. Right now it's 6 because we don't fall into any other category.
Okay.
So we've shown 6. It's 3 stories at 6. I would prefer to come down to 2.5, and that you'd say, well, if you're smaller, why? But it's the equality of the space that we're
Okay.
trying to create. And then if the affordable unit that we have to create, if we only have 6, then it's going to be very difficult to say, okay, we're going to make one handicapped accessible in itself.
Mhm.
So that's the other side of this, is that it gives a lot more flexibility to what we do here.
Okay.
And try to do something that makes the positive statement that's I've been trying to do with this project since day one, as a
Okay.
positive approach to this.
And the historical uses, where
Yeah.
were those septic systems located? In the same location as what you're proposing now, or in a different spot on the site?
No, so what I've tried to do is show you the breakdown of all of those uses, and then put them in terms of, I mean, Title V didn't come into being, and I think it was, Dennis, help me, was Title 1 or something before that, was the first
78,
title?
Article 10.
Article 10, thank you.
Article 10, right. Yeah.
And so the history of this, but 78 is kind of Title 5,
Yeah,
and that starts with the flows. But prior to that, there was another environmental code. So the uses that I'm describing to you back in the early 1900s, there was no environmental regulation.
Right.
They just did what they did, but they were real uses. They were there. They were functioning. Whatever they did, be it a pipe that just went out the back, the back door,
Okay.
it flowed, and those uses were really there.
So that site has never had a septic system then?
No, there was a septic system probably with the fuel station there, because
Okay.
that would have been, again, it went back to the 50s. What it was, to what extent, I don't know.
Mhm.
When they demoed everything, no one had ever reported and said, this is the soil absorption
Right.
system, and therefore it's gone. But I'm just saying to you that when we go to look at this is not a stagnant site. This was not raw, untouched ground.
Right.
It's had uses. It had uses that went prior to what I've even described to you. Downtown Southborough has been an active area. It was right along the rail line. In the 1800s, there was all kinds of uses, no doubt. I'm just saying that if we put them in perspective and try to quantify them, that's what I've tried to do. And I know it's hard to ask for variances from boards. I didn't take it lightly to go before the zoning board to try to do the extended stay hotel that we were trying to do, but we were just trying to find some flexibility in a bylaw that had no flexibility. Your regulations are pretty straightforward. I get it. I've tried to document to you to show you what the flows are. And if we just even look at the fuel station
Mhm.
in its last incarnation, I believe we're on target. We would have 725 for our 3-bay fuel station. If we accounted for the car lot, because they sold cars there. I showed you a picture of it. It's not like I'm making this up. This is real. They had things there. And
Yeah.
then they also sold propane, and they had an office. So if we just took those uses and we back into it, we're at 900 gallons. So I'm trying to just keep it in perspective that we're not asking for something that isn't possible to get. I'm not trying to reach here. I think it makes
Yeah, I think
sense.
we're just making sure that we're asking the right questions for
I
the
want you to. No, I
for the
want
public
this to
to
be very
make sure.
seamless so that no one comes back and says, why did you do that?
Right.
And I want to be able to hold my head high too.
Yeah.
Why did I ask for this? I think there's good justification for why it is. And if you feel more comfortable doing it based upon the flows and then still grant the variance, that's your choice. I just don't think a variance is needed because that there is a provision in the bylaw to do it, 310 CMR 15414. Under the local upgrade, however, if we've documented these uses, I believe we should be able to get that flow. And if we just agree that that flow was upwards of 900 gallons a day, then my 880 is below that. And I think it would work. So thank you.
I have one more question. And this is for either Dennis or Peter. Can you explain the purpose of adding the 4-inch pipe and what that will do for the system? I just want to make sure people are clear on that. I know the answer, but
That's Dennis and I, just because we were old. And we've been down this road before. So I look at the technology and I really like it. And I was saying to Dennis, back in the day when we had these aeration chambers, I was saying to him, don't you remember there was a concrete tray that was in this? And it was like almost like a little sluice way. So when the effluent came in, it went down the sluice way and it would just kind of go out. They don't have that in this. And I didn't get to talk to the gentleman who came up with this technology. But Den was saying for residential use, this is not the customary way of doing it. There are a lot of these systems though going in, particularly when you need to put them under parking lots. And there's a lot of apartment buildings that are dealing with this, particularly in Connecticut. When I spoke with the the engineer's son who came up with the technology. So they are being used. They're being used on sites with larger flows, which is kind of why DEP, I think, gave them the higher rating for this. But that's the one thing that's missing is that it comes in to this chamber system and then it would just drop. And then it's going to fill up this void from the beginning of the line. Dennis and I both were like, this, although that sounds great, and I'm sure they've proven themselves, wouldn't it be better to take it and extend it through the whole system so it's dropping out everywhere like the old aeration chambers did? So we talked about it and we both agreed that's the way to go. And so, yeah, it will cost more to do. That's not what this is all about. It's all about getting it right. So I'll let Dennis talk now.
So to answer it further, concentration. So what you would be doing with the straight aeration chamber is when the effluent comes in, it just comes in and drops into that chamber. So it actually starts in one spot. This, like a conventional stone and pipe trench, where when it comes out of the distribution box, it goes the length of the trench and then filters out. So you're not concentrating on one spot. So your microbes and everything are working in a larger area. So basically, you're creating a better effluent by spreading it out. It's kind of like dilution solution. You know, the longer period it's there, rather than just putting it in one spot. And that's why I asked them to, put that in the plan, and they agreed to that. And I think it makes it just a little bit better.
Okay,
So.
thank you. I think those are all my questions. So for the board, where are we at in terms of the 770 versus the 880? And then, depending on where we land on that, we can discuss how we get there. Anybody want to say what their thoughts are?
I think I feel pretty comfortable with 880. I mean, I
Okay.
think listening to both Peter and Dennis and getting the questions answered, I'll start there.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Liz?
mean, I don't have any kind of, I could be swayed, let's say either way, but I think it seems doable at the 880 for right now, or in my mind, I guess.
Okay. I mean, I'm not hearing that there's a large risk associated
Yeah.
with this. And if you read the 2018 decision, they also relied on the historical flow to give the 746 or whatever that number was for the flow, also the variance for the tributary. So I also am comfortable going with the 880. I mean, I think that site is in isolation too. So I think that gives me a little bit more comfort as well. So in terms of how we get there, we can rely on the historical flow to just vote that we approve that plan, or we can, if we're not comfortable relying on the historical data, then we can grant a separate variance, which would just be a second variance for this property. The tributary variance with the 746 flow would stay intact, and then we would have a second variance. So I'm fine with going with the historical flow. I think that, especially given that we had a 1970s business through the 1990s, where we did have Title V in place, and that was at 900, or I think it was 900. Sorry, that was the 825, and then the 1950s was the 900. I think that we're in the ballpark of at least our most recent information that we have. But that's kind of where I'm at.
I agree. Because I think we've got that data right there supporting this. So
Okay. Liz, do you go with that?
Yep, I'm gonna go with that.
All right, so I'm going to move that the Board of Health vote to approve Mr. Bemis's proposal based on the presentation this morning, that the site at 2 East Main Street be allowed to have a system, which is the good flow system, for an 880 flow.
second, hi.
One question.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Did I mess up the vote?
You're gonna need to put that figure, the 900 gallons historically, because I would want
In the
Peter to-
vote.
Yes,
Alright,
and
so I
I would
withdraw-
want Peter to put that on the plan. So we know exactly, somebody looks at the plan, you know that the 900 gallons is what we're predicating that 880 on.
Okay.
So yes, I would definitely put that in the motion.
All right, so I withdraw my motion. And I'm going to do it again. So I move that the Board of Health approve the request for 2 East Main Street based on historical information of a prior 900-gallon flow per day, to grant or to approve an 880 gallon flow per day, utilizing the good flow system. Is that good, Dennis?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Safter, you want a second?
Now, I will second and vote aye. Okay.
All right, Liz
Look, I,
and Malinowski's aye. All right, Peter.
Okay, so one more thing, I believe, all right,
Okay.
to do this really legal. So now
Okay.
you have approved what Peter is doing in the system that's there. Now you also need to approve that plan,
Okay,
okay? Now,
okay.
whether that plan, you need to put anything more on that plan besides the 900?
Just what you had just asked for tonight, today was the flow.
right.
So we'll add that to the plan, but otherwise you have the current plan, Dennis.
Yeah, so so the board does have to approve this plan. That's something that myself or Chris cannot do because of the variance. So,
Okay.
so I would think you'd also might want to approve the plan now with the edit for that, or wait and when he brings it back.
So Peter, we're
approve.
meeting. May 6th.
That's gonna be late. So could
Well,
I
I think
ask
you have the,
this?
you have the
Can
approval, I mean,
Because the
verbal
local
approval
upgrade,
of the board,
right.
I think that's more of a formality, I would think.
I'm gonna try to go now back to the planning board with this amended. So what I was gonna say is if that's couldn't you condition the approval on that being added to the plan, Dennis? Wouldn't that work? Because that's, that's why I got the plan done. So the only thing that's
Yeah, no,
missing
no,
right now is the historic flow.
Right, so that's the only thing that really needs to be added to the plan. We have looked at the plan, so that's not, unless you guys want to review the plan further or more.
So is anybody gonna want to look at any more detail on the plan that we already have? Without adding, I mean, Peter has to add that one item based on our prior vote. Does anybody go look at it? Have any more questions related to that? Or do you want to do a conditional vote and then we can finalize the vote on May 6th?
Yeah, I think a conditional vote's fine for
yep,
today.
it's fine.
All right, so at least directionally, Peter, you can
Okay.
tell planning board
Yeah.
that you have conditional vote. Okay, so I move that we conditionally approve the plans as presented this morning for 2 East Main Street.
Second and vote aye. Medina?
Look, I,
Malinowski's aye.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it.
All right, no problem, Peter. Thanks for coming and thanks
All
for all
right,
the
yes.
information, bearing
Oh,
with
that's
us.
great. Yeah, and thank you
And
for
thank you,
bearing with me.
Dennis, and Chris for your help on this. It's greatly appreciated. So with that, I'm going to move that we close the public hearing for 2 East Main Street. Is there a second?
Oh, second and vote aye.
look, I.
And Malinowski's aye. Okay,
Great, thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
have a great day. All right. Next on our agenda is March 11th meeting minutes. Were there any changes to those? All right, so I move that we approve the March 11th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second and vote aye.
Look, I.
And Malinowski's aye. Thank you. Public Health Director's return date from maternity leave, so Taylor is back on Monday. Yay,
Wow, I feel like
Yeah.
that flew by.
I know. So I just wanted everybody to be aware she'll be
Chelsea, where'd your voice go?
my voice.
I lost you.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's,
Everybody else can hear me, Barbara.
I can't. She lost her voice. Oh no. Chelsea's voice.
All right, everybody else can hear me.
Okay. Or
Okay.
maybe that's what, no?
All right.
Okay.
So she'll
got
be
it.
back on Monday, so that's great. Chris must have gotten tied up with something, but I just wanted you guys to know that he is leading the camp application. So he sent out an email to all camps from last year. So he's in motion on that one. So he's taken that over, which is awesome. Town meeting was last night. And we had our budget approved. So thank you to everybody who attended that and voted in support of the budget. And we also had our revolving account updated so we can start to offer a more wider breadth of immunizations. And then next, we just talked about our May 6th meeting. There is a public forum next Wednesday evening from 7 to 9 at Trottier that will have, it's like a follow-up to the July meeting that we had with PAR and DPW Neary Building on the site for the new school or the potential new school. So I would actually, I'm going to post for us for that meeting. Chris Craig's going to go to that meeting. So that he is up to speed on any of the questions from the public and have him introduced to PAR as well as Bill. I'm not sure that he's met Bill yet. But are you guys, either one of you, available to go to that forum?
I am. Is it hybrid?
No.
No. Okay. I can probably
No.
make part of it, but not all of it then.
Okay. If you could go to part of it, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but I'm going to post in case we have a quorum there. So Mark Davis on the Neary Building Committee has been pretty involved from the site perspective, as you guys know. So I just wanted to throw that out there that is happening next Wednesday. I'll post if we don't have quorum. We don't have a quorum, but if one of us could be there, I think that would be
What
great.
time did you say it's gonna be
It's
at?
7 to 9 on the 16th.
I may be able to join.
Okay, that'd be great. So I'll post, let me know. I don't think I'm gonna be able to go, but if something changes, I'll pop in. So that's next week. Do we want to have another meeting on this, or you just want me to add it to our next May meeting? Just add it to our agenda? Okay.
Yeah, because the meeting to vote will be the following week, right?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
so we can just touch
Yeah.
base after the forum on that.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And then do we pick June last time?
Yes.
We did? We do the 10th? Okay.
Yeah, the 10th at noon.
Do we want to pick July or do we want to wait? Let's wait.
Okay.
Because then Taylor will be back and we can figure out with her. Okay,
Sounds good.
great. All right, next is public comment. We don't have any public. All right, email me if you guys have any agenda items for the May meeting, but I appreciate your time this morning. And I move to adjourn at 11:50.
Second and vote aye.
All right,
Cool guy.
Malinowski's in. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
And before we sign off, I should have my signature, so hopefully it's all set.
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm the
I think
only
you're
one. I think it's uncontested, so it shouldn't be an issue, but.
Oh,
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's all still good, because I didn't hear back from Jim, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think you're good. All right.
Good. Only took an hour at the transfer station. It wasn't that bad.
That's
oh, wow.
good.
That is good.
Like,
All right.
all right,
All right,
Have a
thanks,
good day.
Pepper.
Bye.
Bye.
thanks, bye.